So there are different sizes of blades. The number 1 says a 1 on the back. You should be familiar with is a very small, teeny tiny V. It takes out a small amount. So if I were to carve this block, it would take out a tiny little skinny line. There's also a number 2. There says a 2 on the back of the blade. It's a tiny little V. It's bigger than the number 1, clearly. Takes out more, but don't be tempted to carve too deep with that V just because it's bigger. Doesn't mean you should carve really deep down in there. Then we're skipping up to a 4. 4 has a number on the back. It's got sort of a U shape, but it's a rectangular U shape, and it takes out a very wide path. Definitely much wider than a number 2. And then all the way up to a 5, also says 5 on the back. Has sort of a curvy U shape and even wider than the 4. So with those stamped in there, I can show you what that's gonna look like on paper. So that was, first one there was a 1, second one's a 2, a 4, and a 5. So there's quite a difference between those. When you go to carve out a big area, you want to treat this sort of like markers. You will probably inevitably see the lines from your carving. So when you have a large space to carve, like in this finished block, you can see that the lines generally go in the same direction. Same here, this is an even better example. The lines of the background in the sky are all cut pretty much in the same direction, so that when they show up, because they will, so you see the blue marks on there, it still looks nice. So that means when you go to carve something out, say you were carving out the area of this person's shirt, I would think of your carving tools like a marker. So you would normally start with a marker and you would have an outline. So this has a small outline, but I can go back and make it a little bit more obvious. So start by outlining each shape. And once you have a good outline, go back and fill it in, usually with parallel marks. So it looks nicest with your bigger blade if you go back in and just take out nice even chunks side by side. The opposite, of course, would be like scribble scrabble, lines all over the place. You're gonna end up having crazy bumps and all sorts of stuff happening, and you'll be cleaning it up forever trying to get that last little spot that keeps picking up ink that's not supposed to. But if you do your parallel lines, you generally get a much nicer looking carve, and it's easier to make sure that you don't have any high spots. So if I have a high spot there, I can just go back and get that again. And if marks show up, which is kind of characteristic of printmaking, they generally look nice, and that's always a good thing as well. So when you carve, treat your carving tools sort of like markers when you have to fill in a space or cut away a space. And make sure you choose the right sized blade to get the job done. So a skinny blade here wouldn't be very good, but a big blade is doing a lot.